we worked with a grower named Barry Hoffner for a number of years, buying his fruit from one of the Valley Floor vineyards. And one day during one of our meetings, he mentioned that he wanted to plant the Pine Mountain ranch that he has. And we were extremely excited about it, and we offered a planting contract with him. So we were able to design this vineyard how we wanted it to be, with the variety, the rootstocks, the clones, and that's how we got started buying fruit from the Silverwood Ranch. After a number of years, we were having a grower feedback session with him where we have the winemaker, the property owner, the vineyard managers all come together, and we discuss what we like about the wine for the year, what we don't like, what we can improve upon. And we said, we're in the market to buy another vineyard, and we love the fruit coming from Pine Mountain area, and we'd like to expand in that area. So we doubt that you would want to sell your vineyard, but do you have any friends or neighbors who'd be interested? And he said, well, let me get back to you on that. The next morning, we have an email from him saying that he spoke to his wife, and he cannot think of a better owner to sell to than to us. So we were just over the moon, put the ball in motion, and we ended up buying what is now the Archimdes vineyard off of him. The reason we chose Archimdes to be a Cabernet primary vineyard is that Bordeaux varieties tend to do better in mountainous areas compared to a deeper soil, where we can just get a bigger flavor profile. The reason for this are many, including the less water availability leads to a smaller berry with much more concentrated flavors.
Our Archimdes vineyard has prolonged sun exposure, and this promotes more growth for the actual vine, lending itself to have more developed flavors. It's slow and steady in its ripening, and we have a little bit of onshore wind that actually helps cool the temperatures during the day. The wine style goal for our Archimdes really is its uniqueness. Every vintage brings something new to the table. The Archimdes vineyard is atop Pine Mountain, which is a hillside vineyard, and thus bringing very firm tannins, good concentration, and its own sense of place. The vineyard itself is providing very small berries and concentration, which we can't find in many lower areas within different appellations. In the Archimdes wine itself, we are not only just bringing in fruit and specific lots from our Archimdes vineyard, but we are also blending in other vineyards to help promote the wine to be the best wine that we can make from that vintage. Our hillside vineyard provides those firm tannins, great structure, good color, and the lower elevation wines are actually bringing into this wine more fleshiness, more fruit, and just pulling out the structure and making it a more attractive wine.
Growing grapes on the mountain versus growing grapes on the valley floor has quite a few differences. The vineyards on the mountaintop will have a much harder time pulling up water and nutrients from the soil versus the valley floor. On the mountaintop, you'll get a much more concentrated grape, full of flavor, just delicious. On the valley floor, you'll get a much more bountiful harvest. While still being delicious, you'll get bigger clusters, bigger berries. Growing on top of this high elevation, we have a handful of challenges that also have great benefits to it. Some of the challenges are the growing season itself. Whereas we'll be down here in the lower valley floor, already on our second growing pass, suckering, up on the top mountain, we're just starting pruning, which is about a month delay. But also up on top, we have a different microclimate. We've got protection being up high on the mountain, where we'll have 115 degree temperature heat wave down on the valley floor. Up high, it's getting a max of 105. But it also works on the inverse too. When we have a cold 65 degree day in the fog down below, we're above the fog line. We're sitting at 85 degrees, 75, 85 degrees up there. And due to this, it makes our growing season much more compacted. So where we started late in the beginning, we catch up through the end of the season. Water is another concern up on the mountain. We have a pond that we irrigate the majority of our vineyard from, and we're only allowed to fill that pond 3 months out of the year. And if we're in a year like we have been, where it's a drought, our ability to fill this pond is not really there. So we have to be very water conscious about it. Luckily, there are some underground streams throughout the different blocks where we're able to almost dry farm 1 or 2 of the spots up there. When you look at the new planting that we have on the very peak of the mountain, we get another variable that we don't have down below and something I've never dealt with before. We've got winds that can blow upwards of 95 miles an hour throughout the growing season of May to July. And I've even seen it later in the year as well. So during the active shoot growth time, we're just getting hammered by wind. And that's something that we're gonna have to take into account for this. But the benefits of all these variables is that we have a very nice hardy vine that has deep reaching roots that are pulling up underground water, underground nutrients, and just giving us the best balance between vine and fruit that we can. Up on the mountain, our priority is not to get the biggest quantity of fruit, it's to make the best tasting quality fruit that we can. And these challenges really help for that. We chose 2 clones for the top of the mountain at Archimdes. The first clone that we used is clone 29. It's a clone that has a lot of history, both in the state of California and for our own winery. In 1881, Gustav Niebaum sailed around Europe and collected a bunch of cuttings of Cabernet to bring back to his winery, Inglenook, in Napa. And in 1975, Francis Coppola purchased the Inglenook winery. Since then, when we were looking at developing this upper vineyard at Archimedes, we wanted to bring a bit of the California history and the Coppola history together and bring some of that to Sonoma County. So we planted half that upper vineyard in clone 29 Cabernet. The second clone we have on the mountain is clone 412. It's a clone that has the characteristics of big color and big flavor. In this site with this clone, we are creating a wine that can lay down for multiple years and just be full of flavor, whether you open it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road.
Our Archimedes vineyard is certified sustainable, also fish-friendly farming, and was one of the pilot vineyards in Sonoma County working on a carbon sequestration farming plan. Archimedes Vineyard is at the top of Pine Mountain and shares one of the highest elevations in Sonoma County that has a vineyard planted on it. So this in itself creates a unique wine and something that is unlike any other wine in Sonoma County. This vineyard probably could be compared to many other locations in the world, but due to our unique topography and geography and elevation and all of those wonderful things that we have going for us, we are going to create a different wine than anyone else can. We're so excited about future vintages off of this distinctive property. We have a second phase going on now that we are in our 3rd leaf, so just coming into fruitfulness. And this is really pushing the limits. It's at the highest elevation, close to 2,400 feet. And we are just now seeing the benefits and some of the challenges that we have in the vineyard. But as a whole, this vineyard is really creating a unique wine that no one can replicate.
While we do have fruit on the vine this year, that was not the vine's priority. This year, because of the wind, rocky soils, all the challenges we have going into here, I wanted to focus the vine's development on getting a hardy, good foundation. We pruned it down minimal so that we would have most of the effort going into vegetative growth and root development. Next year, we will actually lay down fruiting canes and take some of that energy we had in vegetative growth and funnel it into berry growth. And I really expect next year and the future vintages to be absolutely delicious.